Hello and welcome to episode 1 of the Shameless Plug podcast. I'm Lick My Sock 117 and I'm joined here with TMT Coco.
Hello, friends.
Hope everybody's had a wonderful week. Welcome to episode 1, where we somewhat know a little bit more about what we're doing, but still in truth, we don't know anything about what we're doing.
Not even a
Today,
little bit.
today's topic will eventually lead to Spiderman No Way Home. However, there's not going to be any spoilers until we give you a huge spoiler warning. Spider-Man's going to be more towards the end of the episode. How are you doing this week there, Mr. Coco?
Oh, we're recording this on a Friday, so I'm feeling good. Got that break coming up.
Thank God it's Friday, eh?
Yeah. Even though this is going to cause me more work than probably my whole work week, but
yeah,
it's fine.
Throw back to last week. Editing sucks.
Yep.
My better half is finally home from the holidays, and we went grocery shopping. Well, I did before I picked her up at the airport, and
when
I
you
picked
waited
her
there
up
for like 2 hours, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Anyway, so went from the grocery store, went to go to the airport to pick her up because we have to isolate. Like I have to isolate with her for 5 days. That's the rules over here.
All right.
And anyway, so we get home and we're unloading the groceries into the house because I saved that, of course, isolation or not. I saved that to share the load, right?
Yeah,
Anyway,
no.
she made this funny joke that I have to mention here, and maybe you can add some more thoughts to it. Is like, how come you never see your neighbors unloading groceries? Like, I feel like I'm unloading groceries on a bi-weekly basis, and I never see anybody else do it. Is that just me?
I feel like the onus is kind of on me for that one, because I intentionally avoid seeing my neighbors most
Right.
of the time. So
No, but
I'm
like,
kind of causing the issue.
like I feel like I don't know. I just feel like it's something that I do on a bi-weekly basis, and I never see anybody else do. Whether it's my neighbor, a neighbor across the street, neighbor down the road, because like we're kind of in like a mild subdivision right now, and so like
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like do they just magically get food? Like I never see like you see people shoveling their driveway, you see people cutting their grass, but the thing of food that we all need to survive, I never see anybody doing it. I don't
I
know.
think I think the other thing about it is it's sneaky. Like there's no signs for the neighbors to like rush to their windows and open the curtains, get the binoculars out. Like you're cutting the grass, you hear the lawnmower. You're like if you're snow blowing your driveway, you're gonna hear that. Like most things make noise, but grocery shopping, you're like SEAL Team 6. Like there's no
In
noise
and
that
out,
comes out of
in and
that.
out.
Yeah.
Nobody
If you if
nobody
it's
likes doing it.
if it's nighttime, like your car lights go off once you get home, and like it's Bravo 6 going dark. No one sees it. Most of the time when I have to grab groceries, it's always like well after dark. So you just don't turn on the outside light and you just run out there, get the stuff, run back in, you're good. And of course,
And it and
being a
everybody
man,
tries to get most in like the one go, right? Like you put all
yeah,
the bags together, like
as a
the least
man,
amount of
I'm
trips.
required to take it all in one trip. And if I
Right,
don't,
of
I've brought
course.
shame to my family. So, yeah, like you're out there for a while, like in the trunk or whatever, but you get it all and you go and you're done. Nobody got
Like,
to know.
is it a fear of my trunk being open to society and somebody's going to come by and scoop my groceries? Like, I don't know why it has to be so fast. Maybe because I just hate it so much. I don't know.
Well, in the wintertime, I feel like there's some like well deserved urgency to it because it's cold. But other than that, it's just not something people want to do.
Yeah,
So
fair
people
enough.
just
No, it's
speed
just
run it.
interesting observation she made, and I felt the need to bring it up because now I'm starting to notice it too. Like, I just don't see it happen. You see people grocery shopping. You see people like out at restaurants eating. Like, I just never see that middle transaction. You know?
You may very well just be like in the Matrix, surrounded by NPCs or something, and they don't eat.
Are we living in a simulation? I don't know.
I'd like to speak to the creator if we are. I've got some complaints, some bug fixes that need to be done.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like I see skip the dish people. I see, like I said, I just don't see it, and I don't know what's going on. Anyway,
Yeah.
what other kind of projects you working on this week in the streaming sphere?
Specifically in streaming or projects in
Yeah,
general? In
in
streaming,
general.
all right, that's fair. Because in general, I have too many projects on the go. I've got the old 501st Star Wars Snowtrooper Commander. I don't want to call it a costume because it makes me feel like a man child, but the uh, the outfit. I don't want to say cosplay because that makes me feel like a weeb. But the suit, I got that going on, and I cannot for the life of me find moon boots, the big clunky things. I can't find them either in my size or in white. I found ones in white that are way too large, like size 14 for some reason. I don't even know why those exist. And I found them in my size, but not in white. And I've scoured the internet to some sketchy places, and I can't figure it out. But it did make me realize that luxury like shoe shopping is just a blatant scam because like these are considered semi-designer boots. I don't know why, but they are. And like you'll look at some places like Amazon, they're selling them for 105. Shoe stores like low-end shoe stores like 200, and the actual maker's 200. And then you'll go to like some designer website, $800, exact same pair of boots. But the people that waste all this money on designer stuff, they'll just go there and they'll be like, "Ooh, 800. It must be really nice." I guess I don't understand the logic.
And to fill in the listeners, what exactly? So these boots are for the snowtrooper costume. Any more background on that for them?
On the costume itself, well, I just so happened to see it on display at the Toronto Fan Expo in August, and I was like, you know what? That probably look pretty good on me. I think because I've always wanted to be in like the 501st. Although I feel like most people that go into that, they see like just the basic stormtrooper and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. But it's daunting. Like I looked up the requirements and like how things need to be like certain spacing apart and everything. It's insane for some of the requirements for it. So I never got into it, but they had a giveaway going on at Fan Expo, or well, yeah, a raffle, I guess is the right term. And I hemmed and hawed at it, and there was like this middle-aged woman that was there getting like 3 arms lengths worth of raffle tickets. And I stood there for probably 20 minutes while the guy was just sweating, like sweat dripping off his face, trying to get all these tickets put in without taking the entire day. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it because it was the money was going to like sick kids or something anyway, so it was a decent cause. So I got like $25 worth of tickets, and they had so much random stuff before it too that I did not want. Like they had a baby Yoda Christmas inflatable, and I thought to myself, if I got that, I'd be more upset than not getting anything. I think. And so I'm going through and people are winning stuff and I'm not getting nothing. And that middle aged lady that got all the tickets, she won like 4 different things. And finally, the last thing, I'm sweating, I'm standing there. They call it out. It's mine, but I have like an arm's length, so I got to go through each one. And my brother's like, "Hey, you just won that." I'm like, "What?" And I just start panicking, going through my tickets. And they're just looking. They're like, "Bueller, Bueller." And while I'm going through all these tickets, eventually I found it. I brought it home. And it's almost complete.
Wait, how many tickets did you buy?
It was like mid chest to end of hand, arm's length type thing.
Mm.
So enough that like you gotta cycle through those pretty quick to get make sure you have it. But yeah, I ended up getting that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's pretty much complete. Like this is about as good to go as you can get." Which I was like, "Yeah, that's great," because I'm lazy and I don't want to do anything. But it's developed into quite the project. There's so many little nitpicky things I gotta do.
And so
Like,
aside from the boots, what are you missing? So it's a snowtrooper from episode 5, if nobody caught that. Like a
yeah,
full suit, like wearable suit. And
yeah,
if it meets the right requirements, then you could be admitted into the 501st Legion, which is like their like cosplay,
yeah.
like the
They do
highest
like
tier of cosplay in North America for Star Wars.
yeah, yeah, and like they do a lot of they do parades, they do events. Basically, everything they do is just to raise money for charity. Like the slogan is "Bad guys doing good" because the 501st is exclusively like the Empire and stuff like that.
And for
But
the Mandalorian, they got some of the 501st guys to be the extra stormtroopers, right? Or at least have the gear.
yep, yeah, just the like the generic stormtroopers that are in the background on I haven't seen it, so I don't know like how many episodes. But wherever you see a stormtrooper, it's usually the 501st because I guess they had some, but then they wanted to like bump up the scale, and with COVID and stuff, they weren't able to like get more armor sets made in time. So they just called up the 501st and like, hey, you got some people, and they just sent down like however many they needed. But they were Centurion level, which is like the highest tier. Like they measure the gap between the pieces of armor and everything.
Damn.
Like it there's three tiers for a basic stormtrooper, but the one I have thankfully has one tier because
So it's like as sweaty as it gets for like armor cosplay.
pretty much, yeah. Yeah, like you get inspected before you're admitted, and like they check over everything. There's a like you can go on their website. They have a website dedicated just to like the specifications, the sizing, the proper shapes, colors, everything like that for different stuff. And then they have a forum full of people just like sweating, saying, "Okay, I just bought like $1,000 in armor. Where do I find this one tiny piece that I need?" Just hoping that they're not just gonna have an incomplete suit because some of the
Right.
stuff is so hard to find. Like,
Well, it's good to go at it as like a hobby, right? Like, you know what I mean? Instead of just sweating trying to like get into it.
yeah, I mean, I've had it since August, and so far, like, I figured out everything I had to do. I wrote a list. I got the pants, um, which was one of the biggest like missing pieces, I guess. Got the pants. I got the gloves, and I need to get the boots, and then that's like the majority of the appearance, I guess, and then it's just the actual armor itself, which is all
Nice.
custom fiberglass stuff. But
And you mentioned you had to do a little bit of fiberglass work to that too. But other than that, like you're pretty good to go. No, it's the boots. The boots are the thing holding you back.
yeah, it's crazy. Even like the makers themselves, their website, they don't have them. I don't understand. Apparently, they came back into fashion like hard in 2021, which is horrible timing for me. I've personally never seen anyone wear anything like them, but like
Figures that's when you need them, eh? They haven't been used in 50 years, and well, not 50, but 30 years anyway.
yeah, because
And
they
now
were
when you need a pair,
yeah they were big in like the 70s, I guess, because like right after the moon landing and stuff. But they used to be kids' boots. Like if you look at the old 70s boots, the majority of them were like kid sizes, and they weren't just solid colors. They were like you know how ugly old clothes like
oh
jackets
yeah,
and boots used to be, where it's like a weird tint of purple and then a weird straight strange shade of blue and then a green on it. It's like not anything that would be considered designer, or should be at least. But yeah, now they're a big fashion thing, apparently used in like ski chalets and stuff by rich people. I don't get it.
so once you get, so let's say you get all the pieces together and you get admitted to this 501st Legion. What's the plan? Just do the community events, like the charity events and stuff like that, like in your spare time, or just get
I,
the
I,
certificate and just say, yeah, I'm a part of this. Right on.
I think if I got it completely finished, it would probably be about a week straight of just wearing it and looking at myself in the mirror and being like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." Because I've always wanted something like that, just turbo nerded up. But
No, for
yeah,
sure. You
like
talked about it for a long time. You were gonna buy one instead of winning it in the raffle. Like you were thinking about investing in
yeah,
something like that.
I was looking into like the pre-assembled stormtrooper ones, which for anyone listening and thinking, "Hey, maybe I can get one of those." If you have a house, put a second mortgage down, then you can get one. Because it's like unassembled for the base armor is like 2,000, and then you got to find all the small pieces and you got to assemble it and everything. So if you're getting like an assembled one, it's like 5K. I'd say somewhere around there. So it's not
Damn.
cheap, but
Well,
yeah,
that's a hell of a project, my dude.
yeah. Fan Expo next summer or fall, whenever it is, whenever they decide to do it. That'd be the goal to get it done for then, I'd say.
Nice. Well, hopefully the world gets a little bit more back together, so
Yeah,
the
and then
events can
I'll
actually.
go and have a heat stroke because it's a complete winter outfit in the middle of summer.
Stormtrooper Commander, baby.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Right on. What other projects you got to go? Is that it? I mean, that's a pretty big one. I can't imagine taking on something alongside that.
The only other thing is like stream related, where I'm trying to slowly at least figure out how to upgrade my PC. Like I got it in like end of 2018, so it's a little over 3 years old now. So I'm trying to look into like one where things actually are on my computer because it's pre-built. There's no way I'd be able to make one from scratch. It wouldn't happen. Something would explode, or I'd get it all together and it just wouldn't turn on. So I avoided that headache. And just trying to figure out where everything is. It's so crammed together. It's like a probably the most expensive puzzle you can get, I guess. Like, have you ever looked inside your computer and just
Can't say
tried
I
to?
have. I went to Best Buy 3 years ago, and I was like, yeah, that one will do. Haven't peered inside the tire since. Haven't even cleaned it since I bought it.
Yeah, I realized I probably should like, even if I'm not upgrading it, I should take it apart and just blow the dust out of it because I'm sure it doesn't help.
What
Like
exactly? So we're diving deep into PC upgrading now, and PC upgrading sucks. What
yeah,
parts are you exactly looking into to like upgrade now? Like obviously we're talking about general maintenance, but you're saying like what parts are you saying you're looking to upgrade? The graphics card or like
graphics cards are so hard to find right now. I'm not gonna bother with that for a while. I don't think, but the uh, the RAM I've already ordered. Get another 16 gigs of RAM. That's well, I say it's easy because realistically, those things you're just supposed to take them out and just they just click into a slot like it's a Super Nintendo type thing. Except
yeah.
apparently you don't blow on it because that's very bad. But uh, with mine, of course, I have to take off the main fan. I have to take off the heatsink for the CPU, and then move everything out of the way, and then I can clip in the RAM, and then I gotta put the heatsink back on and everything. But that means I have to re-thermal paste it. And my god, there's forums and forums on the internet about doing that. Like just whether you want to put a dot in the middle, how big the dot of like the thermal paste should be. Some people think you should do an X shape. Some people think you should do a square. And there's some people that are getting into like heated debates on this, which I mean, no pun intended, I guess, because it's all about heat. But like
Right, all about that thermal paste.
yeah, like they're going after each other. Like they're going for the throat on some of these forums that I've read. Like just outright saying that the other person has no idea what they're talking about at all. When realistically, I don't think it even matters much at all. Like the only consequence to it is if you use the really expensive thermal paste and it like goes over the edges, then you can short out your CPU. So obviously that's bad. But if you're not using that, the only problem is you have like a little bit of a mess to clean up if you ever do it again. So not really a big deal, but that's the kind of like it just turns into rabbit holes. Everything you do, like something as simple as just yeah, put a little bit of paste on this. It's just forums and forums of people arguing and saying what's best. Like anything,
Well, that's anything on the internet, right?
yeah,
Then
because
you get a lot of
it's
back and forth.
insane. People can't just say yeah, your idea works. This is how I do it instead. It's no, I do it this way, and anyone else is wrong.
Right. No,
And
I
that
think you're trying to unlock the key to society
yeah,
rather
like
than heading down the dystopian path. But
yeah,
so like okay, so you're at what? You're at 16 now. You're going to 32 gigabytes of RAM. So that after that, and maybe a better cooling system, like I don't know, and then faster internet, like you'll be set. Like with your card, you have a 2070, right? So like there's nothing
2080.
2080, right? So
Yeah,
there's
so I'll be
nothing
fine for a while.
that you can't run. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I've looked, and RAM is the main thing that seems to be bottlenecking. Like I'll get into the 90s if I'm streaming like Squad or something like that. So I figure I bump that up and I should be alright. But I realized too that like I watched a couple videos of people just taking apart the computer that I have, and there's actually two more. Yeah, there's one like large storage slot available, and then one smaller one for an SSD. I didn't even know there were two different kinds of SSDs, but apparently there are. There's ones that look like the external ones, where it's just like a plastic shell and it looks pretty decent. You just plug into it. And then there's other ones that look like, your typical computer chip where it's like green and it's got all the solder marks and stuff. So I
Yeah,
have one of
I'm
each of
with you.
those. And like I was saying before this, between now the audio for the podcast and like my stream recordings on top of the games, I'm running out of space pretty bad. So I'm thinking now that I might have to get those. But it's like if I want 1 terabyte SSD, it's $200, and like the RAM was $100, so it's not really
It
cheap.
starts adding up real quick, like upgrading the PC. Like it's not like just buying a new console, right? Console, you pay the whatever 600 schmeckles they want at the get go. Then you have that console for the next whatever how many years, right?
Yeah, like I still think I would rather have a what I guess the equivalent would be is a mid tier console over a high tier PC. Because anything that goes on that console is built specifically for the console, like over time. Like even a newer game still uses that console's hardware. It's not expecting something newer that the console doesn't have. So consoles seem like they're still so much more like future proof than PCs, even though PCs, like everyone says, oh, but you can upgrade them, you can make them better.
The master race.
But yeah, like that I thought, you know what, maybe I've been on the PC a long time. Maybe I'll start to turn. Maybe I'll see the light be enlightened, like all these people say. No, it's not happening. PCs are just more expensive consoles that have unique problems that you have to deal with. Instead of a console is you download the game, you put the disc in, it works, and if something happens, probably every other person with that console has had that problem too, so you can find the answer super easy.
Well, we both know that. We both started out on Xbox more or less, right? Like that was the main kind of thing growing up, and
It's just
Xbox
yeah,
has always been our thing. And it's not like we just didn't like PlayStation or anything else. I think the UI is a little bit better with Xbox, but then after we both got our PCs like right around the same time, like roughly around a Black Friday, like the 3 years ago.
yep,
And it's really been nothing. Like I know you have your original Xbox One, but like myself with the I don't have the Series X. I just have an Xbox One X, and I haven't
yep,
really turned it
the
on
half step.
ever since I really started on the PC because anything that I can play on the Xbox, I can play on the PC now. You know what I'm saying? Like I think the console for me is now like the couch co-op kind of realm. Like any kind of multiplayer split screen kind of game. I think I go to the Xbox for that. But in regards to like streaming or just being comfortable, I prefer sitting in the computer chair in front of a monitor. I don't know. Like I've just changed over the years.
Yeah, I think for me, like, well, one, I haven't used my Xbox in a long time, but that's because I blew the fan out of it like a year ago. And even if the fan still worked, I don't know if I'd go back to it because it completely lost all my save data for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and now I have to play that horrible start all over again. But I think for me, still, if I'm gonna get a AAA game, so like anything from Ubisoft, like Battlefield, anything like that, even if the graphics are gonna be a little bit better on my computer, I'd still probably rather get it on the console just for like the ease of use. I know it's gonna run well. I'm not really gonna run into any like issues specific to me. So I'd rather just go with the console, just the ease of
No,
use. But
I agree with you there because like you open something up in the computer and suddenly it'll just crash and it won't tell you why or something for some reason it's preventing this and that from opening and I'm no PC wizard. But I miss the old days. You used to put the disc in and you play it. There was no downloading, there was no making sure you had the right drivers and all that kind of crap. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like so we're on
well,
the same page where I agree with the user friendliness of console. Like you just play the game. Like the game is designed specifically for your Xbox or your PlayStation. You hit start and you go.
yeah, and you didn't need the internet to figure out how to solve a problem because the solution to pretty much everything, well, back in the cartridge days was just take it out, blow on it, put it back in. If that doesn't work, turn the console off, turn it back on. That fixed like 100% of your issues. And
Oh,
if
that's
that didn't
right.
fix it, your TV is probably not on. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, like the worst thing you had was a scratch on the disc or, blowing the cartridge, right? So now you got to update a driver, you got to make sure you're letting it through the firewall. There's so many things on the modern PC you have to let to make your game play, which, if you're a PC wizard, you don't care. But if you're a simple console gamer like myself, like that's a big hurdle to get over.
yeah, like
More tedious than anything.
you're just adding work to something that doesn't need work just to say you're superior. It never made sense, and it still doesn't make sense to me. So
Right.
But yeah,
And
that
like the whole PC like gaming side of it, that's kind of starting to kill like achievement hunting. You know what I'm saying? Like
you
before
stole my
you'd have
segue.
your
God dang
your
it.
your gamer score and whatnot, right? Like that used to be a competitive thing with your buddies or how many PlayStation trophies you had. Now nobody cares. Nobody cares about your gamer score or your maybe nobody did back in the day, but I know we sure did. What were you
No,
gonna say?
I feel like for sure. Like I was thinking about it earlier, and I remember, I guess like middle school and high school were the big times. One, Xbox was so much more popular because everyone, like, how good of a gamer you were came down to your gamer score. It was literally like it made sense. The gamer score is how good of a gamer you are, and you compared other people to you with that. Whereas with like PlayStation, it's like, well, how many trophies do you have? And it's like, okay, well, what color are they? And like, so that system never made nearly as much sense to me. And like the heyday, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and Black Ops, like that time period of Xbox 360 when you had the good Call of Duties, you had the good Halos, you had the good Gears of War. That heyday period, I remember all the time. Like, I guess I hung out with the nerds, but still, like the majority of the guys that I talked to, they would talk about gamerscore. Like, it would be a fairly common thing. You'd hear it like every week. I'd say sometimes it was brought up like just mixed into a conversation. Sometimes the entire conversation was, "Hey, I went home and I finally got this achievement." Like achievements were big, and I don't know if it's just like the game design of it, but it was so satisfying to get most of them too. Like you felt good when you got that little blip and you saw it pop up at the bottom of your screen. And now it just like they're still in. Even if you get a game on Windows Store, it still has achievements, but I feel like on PC it's not really the same because like on Xbox you log in and you see your gamer score. It's right there. But with PC, it's like Steam achievements. No one really cares anymore.
You got to go digging if you are mildly interested at all.
Yeah,
Like it
like
doesn't
it.
display, right? Like Xbox, like somebody sends you a message, the first thing you see is their profile, their gamer score, and then their avatar.
Yeah, and then
Like it used to be part of
if they had low gamer score, you could just make fun of them and dismiss all of their claims because you
the
were
right.
better than them.
Well, these were
Like,
back in the times if you beat Halo on Legendary, you unlocked like a flaming helmet. You didn't have to pay for it, right? So
yeah, and it didn't come with cat ears. Yeah,
that's right. So I think we're dealing with just two totally different times in gaming, which is unfortunate. Like you'd get a new game and you knew like, oh, this is gonna be free achievement real estate. Like
yeah, or you'd have ones where it's like, wow, this game's really hard. I'm gonna feel really good if I get all the achievements. Like, it's gonna be an accomplishment. Whereas now, an accomplishment is, yeah, I bought the battle pass, got to level 100 in the battle pass, paid for it. Yeah, what's up?
yeah.
I'm a good gamer.
I remember
Like,
coming over to your place after school one day, and I think you had just gotten 1,000 gamer score off Skyrim. And you're just different that day. Like you felt like you actually like, you know what I mean?
I accomplished more than any other person that year just by getting that last achievement. It was even worse with Skyrim because I put what was it? It was either 400 or 600 hours in, and I got every achievement but one that I could not get because it was related to some side quest. And in a separate side quest, I accidentally killed one of the characters from the other side quest, which you weren't supposed to be able to do. But like you had to choose some kind of decision, like a yes or no. Do you kill someone or something? And I chose yes, and then I regretted it, so I just killed the other people, and one of them was for the other achievement. So I had to make a whole nother account or like another character, play through the entire game again, which I mean kind of worked because I got to do Imperial the first time, Stormcloak the second, so I got to see both sides of it. But that was another like 400 hours. So I have over 1,000 hours in Skyrim just to get 1,000 gamer score. So one gamer score per hour isn't a great like mark, I guess, but
Worth it in hindsight.
100%. Like that
Yeah.
was the first 100% I got. And then, well, you were part of the second one that's unofficial, but I still count it because the game broke. The Lego Star Wars The Clone Wars.
Yep. The
Got
best
every
Lego
single
Star
one.
Wars game.
Oh, so good. The like semi RTS part of it, groundbreaking until it.
That would melt the 360. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it would burn. But yeah, I remember going through all of those, and then the moral dilemma of do you look up what the hidden achievements are, or do you just hope you find it along the way? That was always tricky for me,
Yeah, the hidden achievements.
because then you're almost like it's like you're breaking the code, or you didn't earn it quite as much as someone who just found them. But at
It's
the
like
same
looking up a
time,
walkthrough on YouTube, you know,
yeah.
to a certain level or something like that.
But at the same time, there's no way to like validate that someone found it naturally. So I guess it was always just like the one spot where you could dispute, be like, no, you looked it up. You're not as good.
Right.
That 5 gamer score doesn't count.
What was
But
the
yeah,
achievement that bugged out for you when we were playing? It was like the 100% completion, was it?
yeah, it was
Mm,
total. Like you collected all the mini kits, you got all the bars filled, and
all the
you,
gold bricks, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So you did everything in the game, and I did, and it just would not give me the achievement. Like it said 100% rating game, 100% completion, but it wouldn't give me that stupid last achievement. I got every single other one,
I think I
and like
came over to
that
your
one took
place.
forever.
It was like an entire Christmas break off school when you got that, and I came over to play with you, and we played like every day for at least 6 hours just to get all that.
It was work, but like
It was a lot of fun though.
it was worth.
That was a
Yeah,
lot of fun that game.
that was probably my most played Lego Star Wars, like even more than the original two, because I didn't really play the first one too much, and I got into the second one, and then I didn't want to go back to the first because it had less features. But yeah, the
That's
Clone Wars
usually how
was.
it goes.
Well, that's exactly what happened to me with Assassin's Creed. I only have like an hour in the first one, and I've beat all the other ones like as much as possible without 100%ing.
I get called out for this, but yeah, it makes the first one unplayable. I started with Brotherhood, so like I can't go back. It's like there's so many other games like that where you play like I think it's the Far Cry. Like I'll never play Far Cry 1 or 2.
Oh
You know, I
God,
think
no!
I started with Far Cry 3. Like
Yeah, there's such a time difference that it's just like, especially with Far Cry, they took a big break and came back to it, so it's just like a really old, crappy, like pioneer first person shooter to play the first two, I think. And then the third one's like a semi modern era first person shooter, I guess.
yeah, that was the first one I played. That was the first Far Cry 3. It was pretty good. That was like the open world kind of. That's where you get that Far Cry guilty pleasure we were talking about last episode.
Yeah,
Just
like
like the same
it's
formula.
they're exactly the same mediocre game every time, pretty much, but it just works because it's an open world that's meant to be open world, and it's sandboxy enough that you can just mess around and do dumb stuff.
Hmm. I am
So
hoping the new Lego Star Wars game is going to be a lot of fun. I haven't bought a new game since that Clone Wars one we were just talking about. But apparently, in this new one, the Skywalker saga, you're supposed to be able to travel between planets like whenever you want and stuff like that. Like that sounds really cool.
hmm. The last Lego Star Wars that I got was the Episode 7 one.
Mm. Yeah, I never
And
played it.
I only got maybe 2 or 3 hours through that. And it wasn't doing it for me because one, I didn't like the movie, and two, it didn't have anything new. Like it felt like I was playing like two again, basically. It felt pretty stripped down. There wasn't much to it.
Yeah, nothing innovative.
But like I played the Pirates of the Caribbean one. That one was really good. I like that one, and it had the soundtrack too, so it's just good off the bat.
Oh, it sells you on that. Whether it's Sea of Thieves or Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, anything is gonna shut up and take my money. You know,
I just need the music, and I need Jack's like stupid walk, and I'm good.
yeah. No, yeah, Lego Pirates was fire, and same with Lego Lord of the Rings. That was really good too, in my opinion.
I never got through that one either because I got that like during a period of time where I got a bunch of games, and I played like the So I think the Lego Lord of the Rings was like all three movies, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And I think I got through the first movie's storyline pretty much, and that was about it. Actually, it might not have even been all the way through. I think it was when they got to the mines, like they go up the mountain, get to the mine. I
Yeah.
think I think that's pretty much where I stopped. And then like by the time I was done other games to go back to it, it was just it had been like over a year, so I just never ended up going back. I think that was for this console though, like the Xbox One. I don't think it was a 360 one.
No, yeah, yeah. Well, at least the Hobbit one was anyway, because I know they did the Lord of the Rings and then they did the Hobbit afterwards.
Yeah, but another Lego one I played a lot of was Lego Marvel Superheroes, where the entirety of New York was open world.
Yeah,
That
that's the
one was
one
really
my
fun.
better half she has on her Switch.
Right.
Like those ones, like any Lego game or any game that has like the split screen where you can both go your separate ways and not be tied to like the end of a string to each other.
Yeah,
The
like the
ultimate like couch co-op experience. Like the
yeah
original Lego games, like we did it right. But as soon as you experience the third one, like the Clone Wars one, where you can go your own way without any consequence, that's when it really lifted off for me.
yeah like the first two were just a lie. They were split screen, but not or no, I don't even know if the first one was, but the second one I'm pretty sure was where like it would actually split the screen properly and stuff, but you could only just go off the screen and then it pulled you back anyways to whoever player one was, if I remember right. So you
No,
could
I
just
think the
drag
first
someone around.
one and the second one, I think it was all just one screen, and you could just see each other
Yeah, all right.
on each one. I think that's how it was. I could be wrong, but I know the third one for sure. You could do whatever you wanted with no consequence.
Yeah,
Do you think couch co-op is dying, like split screen in general and stuff like that?
I think so for the most part. Like my dad this last weekend, he was like, "Well, why don't you just?" Because we had my cottage and I took my PlayStation up. He was like, "Well, why just put your PlayStation in the living room and we'll play something together." And I looked at my games. I'm like, "Well, this has multiplayer, but it's online
You're like
multiplayer.
this is
This
my
is
time to
online
shine.
multiplayer."
My dad never wants to play with me. What I got nothing to play. I have nothing.
Yeah, I mean my catalog of PlayStation games, it's literally just online only multiplayer. There is no split screen on like any of them really, which sucks. And I think for the most part, it's dying just because most people are just playing online now. But It Takes Two came out this past year, and that was a big like not necessarily just a couch co-op, but it was that kind of feel, and
We
you
have
could
that.
actually
We
play it.
play like that's why I have the PC for like online gaming and the console for the couch co-op like that's out in our living room with the big TV because like we did get It Takes Two.
Yeah, like that was the old school split screen formula pretty much, and they just made it so you could play it online if you wanted to, and like that. I was kind of surprised it didn't win Game of the Year, or at least I don't think it did. But like that, from what I saw and all the reviews and stuff, was a really good game. So I'm kind of hoping that they'll go back to like the split screen type format of games at some point, or at least just maintain it on current games instead of just abandoning it. But
Is
like
Halo
even
getting split screen? I don't think so.
not sure if they would do that.
I have
Like,
no
but
idea.
it's hard to say when they don't have the co-op out yet. But
Right.
I would expect it because Halo's always had that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, especially since they're bringing it late anyway. So they're probably just gonna bare bones it if anything. But what was the other thing I was gonna say? Like even yeah, I haven't bought like an NHL game in probably 10 years, but
Well,
I
if
don't
you
even
bought
know
one
if
10
they have
years
them anymore.
ago,
Well,
if you
it's the
bought one
same
10
game.
years ago, it's the same game.
Yeah, just without microtransactions. But yeah, I don't know if those even have them anymore. Like just the because those games you could always like all the sports games you could play split screen or not even split screen, just on the same screen, but like local multiplayer.
Yeah, I
I would,
remember us doing that. Like we grew up on the couch co-op, right? Like that was that was our thing.
yeah, even though we spent most of the time on the floor, but yeah, coach co-op was
Right.
well, there was no internet, so there was no other option. But yeah, like it's dying for sure. I don't know if it'll be dead or not.
I think
Like
that's when zombies like in COD kind of peaked for me too. Was during that like kind of couch co-op phase
yeah,
because like there was nothing like it was nice to have AI waves of enemies that you could fight. But ever since like online multiplayer got more and more popular, like I can just fight other people now. You know, or
yeah,
like
like
even
you just play.
MW3 Survival
Oh yeah, forgot about that.
that we were
Yeah,
horrible
like
at.
it. I, I mean, I'm kind of burnt out of zombies just from doing Keynote or Totem so many times, but I I don't know. I feel like a boomer because I want them to keep old stuff, but I feel like it's good. Like legitimately, right now, if you had to buy a game to play with someone in your house, what options do you have besides old games? Like I don't think any new games really have local multiplayer anymore. And if they do, it's yeah, the two of you can go online and play. But like there's nothing where you can just disconnect and just have you and someone else play a game.
I haven't played any of the recent sport games, so like I don't have any comment on that. Like I will never buy like a new Madden or a new NHL until I don't know until I have a child that desires it. I don't know. But
NHL threw me right off. Like they use the Frostbite engine from Battlefield. I'm like, well, what are they gonna do? Have the glass like explode like a nitroglycerin plant? What? How are they gonna use Frostbite in a way that makes sense? Because Frostbite's all about destruction and stuff. And the game came out, and it looks horrible. It looks
which one
worse
was
than the
that?
games from 10 years ago. The new NHL game, like the last
Like
one
the
that came
newest
out.
one?
Yeah, it they advertise. Yeah, it's got Frostbite and stuff, and it just looks bad. Like it looks legitimately worse than some of the earlier games did. I have no
Yeah,
idea why they use Frostbite. Just because EA, I guess. But
that's it. Because EA and because of money, and they need like if you ever just go on YouTube and just search like why the new Maddens are bad, and you'll find endless videos.
yeah,
Like they're reselling you the same game, and so many people are buying. It's unreal. The amount of people buying these games are crazy, especially FIFA too. Like, oh,
well
that's like
that
a
is
quarter of their company like profits, right? Like,
yeah, and they it's just a gambling game now, from my understanding. Like at least for NHL, I know people collect like hut packs or something like that, where it's the same as just when you used to buy old Yu-Gi-Oh cards. You spend the money and you hope you get a good card in it, basically.
and you don't.
Yeah, I say that like I used to buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I was always too cheap, but like that whole experience. So it's basically just gambling, and then people will just drop all the money that they've sunk into one game and just go to the next one, and it's like the exact same thing pretty much, except maybe one person's power ranking went up. So
Yeah, it's all about that microtransaction thing again, like the fantasy league. Like you got to keep your roster competitive. Like every year they'll release like, oh, Joe Schmo there has increased 7 in his kicking this year. You better get him, or if you have an opponent gets him, then you're no longer going to be competitive, and he's just going to mop the floor with you every time.
yeah,
you know,
I did see that Joe Madden died a couple weeks ago. I think.
he did. Yeah, may he rest in peace. Hopefully they don't drag his name through the dirt any more than they have, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm sure they're gonna keep the name for future games, but like, I don't think it's gonna be good by any means.
Yeah, yeah, that's really unfortunate. So let's change gears. Let's get into Spider-Man now. So for any listeners that are listening, obviously this is a huge spoiler warning for Spider-Man No Way Home. It's been out for about 3 weeks now. We understand if you don't want to, if you're waiting to see the movie and you don't want to hear anything about it, this is your time to peace out, and we'll catch you next time on the next Shameless Plug podcast. But if you've made it this far, Coco, what are your thoughts on Spider-Man No Way Home?
Well, it's what, a 2.5 hour movie. So the first 2 hours was, hey, dang, this is actually kind of good. and it just progressively got better. And then you find out that the rumors were true, and it's just I was just sitting in the theater with a big dumb smile on my face for so much of it. Like, wow, they actually made this a really good movie. And then they took all of that, put it in a garbage bag, set the garbage bag on fire, and put it in a trash compactor for the last half hour by just undoing every single piece of character development that he has ever had, in my opinion, for that stupid
Dang. So
ending.
this is going to be an interesting conversation because I think we're on different sides of this.
Oh, probably. I just like so I've seen lots of people be like, yeah, it was really good. It was like a bold ending and stuff like that. Like I like what they're doing with it. But I don't like the idea of just wiping the slate clean. Like at that point, you may as well just introduce like Miles Morales or someone like that who is actually a new character that can develop. Because like my main problem is, what was the point of all the other movies if he's now unknown to any? Like no one knows who he is. All those relationships he had are pretty much gone, unless they're if they are going to try to like undo it, I guess, and have it so eventually he gets these relationships back, then sure. But if he's just gonna stay like a Batman figure where just no one knows who he is, it seems like it's all pointless. He seems like a placeholder or a shell to me. Like he's just
The Tom Holland Spider-Man.
superhero number one. Yeah, like
Hmm.
Tom Holland's character. How?
So like to bring it back a little bit, you were saying that you didn't believe like any of the rumors were true. Like me myself, ever since the end of Loki came out, and when they started diving into the multiverse, and we knew this movie was coming out, I knew there was no way that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are not in this movie. There's no way they're not. I just I knew they were going to be, and if they and even though they never ever said that they were, until you're in the theater watching it, if they weren't in it, like they could just totally deny, hey, we never said they were, but everybody would be pissed because like there's it was undeniable that that was the opportunity of a lifetime to bring all the Spider-Man together.
Yeah, like yeah, I didn't think that they would. I thought it was kind of a reach where people were just so used to like Infinity War and Endgame where everyone comes together. I didn't think that they would cycle them back in, and I couldn't really think of a way where like they could have them come and it actually makes sense. So
Did you like it?
when they did show up, like it was good. Like I don't have any issue with how they did it, but I saw like the posts beforehand where people were speculating like, oh well, if we track the geographical route of Tom Holland's plane, at one point it passed over a town that Toby Maguire lived in 8 years ago. They must be in the movie together. Like some of the things that they were saying were such reaches, but so I just addressed it as like a conspiracy theory where if they're right, cool. If they're not, I'm not disappointed type thing. Well, it's like MJ says, just what was the line she kept saying over and over in that movie? Like
Oh, I know
expect
what you're talking
disappointment and
about.
you'll never be disappointed or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that or
What the sentiment? I mean,
yeah.
well,
I think I live by it to be
yeah,
honest.
but if you're always expecting disappointment, I feel like you're still just going to be disappointed. Like that's kind of you're kind of just putting yourself in that box.
That's my secret cap. I'm always disappointed.
I'm always sad, and that's when
I thought it was a
therapist
great
closes his book
movie.
and says time's up.
So like Infinity War, Endgame, and this, maybe even Civil War, I think are event movies. Like I'm a huge fan of streaming and watching movies in the comfort of your own home. Like I watched Black I didn't no, that's a lie. We watched Black Widow in the theater, but we didn't watch Shang-Chi. We watched Shang-Chi in the living room on Disney Plus when it came out. And honestly, that was fine. Like that was good enough. But I think for a movie like this, Infinity War and Endgame, they're event movies. Like I get more about going to the theater and getting the audience reaction out of it. Like when when Andrew shows up, like when he comes through the portal and Ned's doing his swirly thing and Buddy shows up and takes his mask off, like the theater exploded. Like you can't get that anywhere else with streaming.
Oh yeah, it's like 20 or 30 years from now, my kid's gonna ask me, "Where were you when this happened?" I'm gonna tell him I was in the theaters. But
Is that a
yeah, like it's
Transformers quote you're trying to pull out there?
what?
Is that a Transformers quote you're trying to pull out? Isn't that
It's
like Transformers 3 and Buddy in the
well,
wheelchair is
actually,
going up
yeah,
to Sam? Where were
yeah,
you when the aliens took over the planet?
yeah, yeah. That
Anyway,
wasn't. There's like a memey version of that that goes around every once in a while too. But
another
yeah,
guilty pleasure franchise, you know?
for me, I think my two options instead of seeing it in theaters or seeing it on Disney Plus at home, my two options tend to be see it in theaters or don't watch it. Like I never watched Black Widow or Shang-Chi. I don't really have any interest. Black Widow because like yeah, I get you're developing the character more and stuff, but it feels kind of inconsequential considering we know how it ends. It's like starting at chapter 2 of a book and then going back to chapter 1 after you finish it. But
Yeah, but
Shang-Chi I
that's
didn't
not a
have too
fair
much
thing to
interest.
say about that because like you know how Marvel is intertwining everything, setting up things for the future. If you, like they say you don't need to watch the shows to keep up with the movies, I think that's a lie.
Yeah, I mean some of them definitely matter. It's not like the old days where you had Marvel's Agents of Shield was the only TV show and it had pretty much just one crossover and then they stopped.
Yeah, nobody watched that.
I never finished the last season. I watched it up till the last season and I stopped because I took like a year off or something where it got canceled and then they brought it back or something like that. But yeah, I never finished that. But that the Andrew Garfield moment that was a pretty good one because like they open the portal, you see him from the back, you assume it's Tom Holland, and when he came out and took the mask off, it was like, all right, they did it. That's when I got
Yeah.
the big dumb smile.
Oh, me too. That's and then you know the theater explodes and he just dives right into the humor. They're like, prove it.
Yeah.
What do you mean prove it?
Yeah, he just
He hangs
climbs
from
on
the
the ceiling,
ceilings.
gets the dust of the color.
Yeah, he goes over. Like that's the Marvel humor that works for me. You know, like ever since
Yeah,
Guardians of the Galaxy when they started adding that kind of humor in.
yeah, where it wasn't just cheesy like action hero lines like Thor. Yeah,
Yeah, when they knew not to take themselves seriously. Like I'm really excited for the future of Thor. What Taika Waititi's going to do with him again. I think that's going to be really fun.
I'm just worried that they're gonna phase out Chris Hemsworth and just make Natalie Portman Thor or something like that.
I don't know. I feel like he loves playing the character.
Yeah, but
Maybe he'll be too expensive. I don't
I
know.
mean, even Chris Evans, like he loved playing Captain America. He said that a bunch of times. Like he idolized the character and stuff like that. But even he got out of it to do other stuff because I think at some point they realized either I need to get out and do other movies, or this is my life, or their agent tells them that.
I mean, that's a sweet life though. Like,
Oh, I mean, it's a pretty sweet life either way, and I mean, you could be in a movie where you don't have to be jacked the whole time, so you can just relax a little bit.
right.
But
Did you ever watch Knives Out with Chris Evans in it as well?
with that turtleneck, no, I never got around to watching it, but I saw that turtleneck for months on it.
No, he was pretty good in that too. So like even like he shouldn't be worried about work after Captain America. Do you think do you think the big three will ever like come back together on screen again?
Like RDJ and the two
Yeah.
Chris's. Eh,
With like this multiverse thing kind of opened up.
so like as their Marvel characters,
Yeah.
I think Robert Downey Jr. is pretty done with Iron Man from what I remember. Like
Mm,
it was well planned that he would exit when he did, and like he wanted to put an end to the character. He didn't want to drag it out. So I don't see him coming back in. Like same with when they did the what if episodes. Like he didn't voice. Well,
oh, that's
actually,
true. Did he? No, he didn't voice, but he was in a
no. But
lot of them.
I was trying to. The only one that was coming to my head was when he was a zombie, and I was like, well, I wouldn't pay Robert Downey Jr. to make zombie noises. So, but like, yeah, he. I don't see him coming back. I don't see him really doing many more movies because like he has so much money from what he's already
Yeah, he
done.
doesn't. He
I
doesn't
think at
have to, right?
I think at this point he's just doing more like philanthropy where he's just like I always see him supporting charities and random different things like that. So I think that'll be pretty much
I,
the rest of his career. Just make
yeah,
money off of royalties, I guess, and then just
I'm a pretty casual Marvel fan, but I'd pay to see that, to see those people back on the screen again. Because like Endgame, that was a hell of a movie experience. Like I think movies are all downhill after that.
Well,
Like
Marvel
he like
movies, 100%. Like
yeah,
they were like I'm picturing a triangle in my head. Like you had this base of all these superheroes, and it all just came up to the one point, the one high point, which was, well, for me, Infinity War. I liked it better than Endgame, but like those two movies together, that event, and then now they're trying to build on top of
a climax.
what's left, and you can't do it. Like there's nowhere to
yeah.
go. It's clear they planned to Endgame, and then as they got close to Endgame, they're like, okay, who do we keep alive? Who do we kill? So we can make more stuff. But
Yeah, but I'm fine with that
there's
because I'm so
no,
casual. Because
yeah,
I'm so
but
casual about it.
like it was very clear that they had a big plan. They had like phases of movies and everything like that. But now I don't think they really have a plan besides just get as much money as they can, which they're not going to have any problem with.
But I never thought that I would like after the Endgame portal scene. I never thought that there would be a movie or at least a Marvel movie experience that like made my jaw drop like that did, or like Captain America with Thor's hammer and stuff like that. But when the three Spider-Man are just like in the lab and they're just like shooting the crap and they're
Well,
talking
when
about each other's like web slingers, and Buddy's
well,
like, "Wait, that comes out of you? Like what? Does
yeah,
it come out anywhere else?"
I think the best part where they played into that was when Ned said, "Hey, Peter," and they all just
And
kind of
they
looked at
all
each other.
like fantastic. I love that kind of stuff. Like you tell me you wouldn't want to see like I don't know two Thors like mess with each other like a pre Ragnarok Thor and a post Ragnarok Thor. Like one super serious and strong, and then the other one like party and goofy fat Thor. Like
Yeah, I mean the issue with that though is they're both Chris Hemsworth, so you're not getting quite the same dynamic of the three different actors, but they
right.
could still make it interesting for sure.
No, that's a fair argument. Tobey Maguire will always be my Spider Man. I'm sorry. Like I just
Yeah, apparently, Andrew Garfield said like anything that Disney wants to put him in, he will 100% say yes. So if anything, out of like between him and Toby, I would kind of expect Andrew to be in more stuff, but
it's a cash grab. I'd see it.
yeah, and I mean they didn't really have to put too much work in. They just played the character they played before. So even if like anything that was wrong with the character back then is wrong with the character now, and it's fine. They don't have to like try and improve it or change it or anything. They just keep it exactly the same, and they're good.
But going back to like my overall thoughts of Spider Man, like I really enjoyed it. Like obviously Tom Holland's contract was like wrapping up, so they had to make it so like okay, we're kind of put into a corner here with Sony and Tom Holland with like the Spider Man franchise rights. How can we make it so that if we recast Spider Man, nobody knows who he is, right? Like that was like I think that's what they were going for, and that's how they cleaned up the story like clean. I think
Yeah.
it's dumb that Doctor Strange can just make everybody in any multiverse ever forget that Peter Parker is Spider Man. To be
Well,
honest,
the whole premise like kind of bothered me because like the whole theory is yeah the multiverse is shattering apart because all these people are coming from different universes because they know he's Peter. You could tell me that someone is someone. How am I gonna go through a universe to get to him?
well, that's if
Like
you don't buy that, then the movie just doesn't work, right? Like you have to. It's just like the end game time travel, right? Like it's either all of it is a joke or none of it is, right? Like if they don't sell you on that, then you're pretty lost for the movie.
I feel like everything on Endgame was relatively well thought out or explained. Like, yeah, they went back in time with a time machine. So at least they had that. But like how is Sandman gonna travel through to a different universe because some spell told him Peter Parker was somewhere else? Especially when they said that the moment that they switched to the other universe was just before they died to Peter Parker. So if I had a voice in my head saying, "Yeah, that's not Peter. Peter's somewhere else," one, I'm still gonna die because it was moments before their death, and two, if I just about died to the guy, why am I gonna go hunt after him?
Right. Well, I
Like,
think also like I think the reason why like it's because of his spell is like he's so powerful, right? Doctor Strange, and they screwed up his spell, and his spell was so screwed up and so powerful. That's what brings them all in. Like he didn't finish it, right? Like it's an unfinished spell, and that's what's
Yeah.
sucking everybody out of their universes. Like it's because of his spell. Like at first I thought it was because this was all happening the same time the end of Loki happens, but no, I think it's because of his spell, and they all get dragged in because of the screwed up spell.
Yeah.
And originally, like he was like, can they just forget that, like that I'm Peter Parker or something like that? Like, what did he originally ask Doctor Strange? He's
Well, it
like,
was can
can you
everyone
forget who I
forget
am?
that Peter Parker is Spider-Man,
Right.
basically, and it
So like,
ended up
why
being
did he
everyone
change it
does.
at the end? Yeah, like so now just everybody forget that I'm Peter Parker. Like they kind of morphed that at the end, I think.
Well, yeah, at the end, like he was like, well, they won't all come if they don't know that I'm Spider-Man, or if they don't know who Peter Parker is. But like, out of all your options, your choice, your wish is, yeah, make everybody in the world forget who I am. Like, no, I would have said everybody that's coming forgets that or the original spell would have worked too. Just everybody forgets that I'm Spider-Man. That's fine, because even that premise, like, if he could have left that at the start of the movie, as nobody knows I'm Spider-Man, but they'll still know who Spider-Man is, like, just based off the logic of that spell. If they'll just forget who Spider-Man is. They'll just know, okay, Spider-Man is a superhero. They'll remember all this stuff. And then if Peter wants to prove, like, if he wants to tell Ned, yeah, I'm Spider-Man, one, Ned is still going to know who Spider-Man is. And two, he can just shoot a web,
Yeah, he can just tell it.
crawl
Like
on
he
the
still
wall.
knows who Peter Parker is, but
Yeah.
just prove it, just like Andrew and Toby proved it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like just
Like,
that quick.
instead of, yeah, just everyone forgets who I am. Which I don't
Yeah,
think is really his character at all, anyways, because, like, in all the movies, the whole point was him trying to, like,
make
live the
connections
two
and stuff
lives,
like that.
yeah, like, have these relationships with people while still being Spider-Man. So it didn't feel in character for him to say, yeah, I just everyone forget who I am, and I'll just be Spider-Man.
And the
But
post credit scene, right? So Tom Hardy and Venom, they get
yeah,
transported over as well. They're not in the movie until the post credit scene after. And so then obviously when the spell goes, everybody forgets who Peter Parker is. Then he gets sent back too, right? But like how does Venom or Tom Hardy know who Spider-Man is, right? Like that's not the Spider-Man from Spider-Man 3, not Raimi's Spider-Man 3,
yeah,
right? So like that was a little bit, and then how does he leave like a little piece behind? Obviously, that's just so Venom can be in the Marvel universe, which is
yeah,
awesome. But I want Tom Hardy with him. Like I think that duo there is worth like shelling out some money for it.
yeah.
But like how do you think that works? Like do you think like so remember in like Spider-Man or no, in the first Venom he was like I have traveled to many places. Do you think he's like an interdimensional kind of symbiote kind of thing or like how does that work?
I mean,
How does he know Spider-Man?
I think they're gonna just gimmick it as much as they can and just have, like, these fuzzy connections until eventually they can use them in a movie they want to use them in. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think their main concern is making it make sense as much as it is making sure that he can get in there somehow. Like, they just needed a way in, and
Yeah.
I guess they took that, but
Yeah, I don't know.
it, eh, I'm all right with it, but yeah, it was kind of a, like,
It's
fuzzy
messy.
logic on how it
One of the
worked.
messier things they've done. Like the time travel was tighter than that in my opinion.
Yeah, like, overall, like, it's just the ending that's just kind of threw the movie off. Like, William Defoe, Green Goblin, so good in this. Like,
Oh,
he did
that
a great
speech.
job.
That was the best scene in the movie in my opinion, aside from like the three of them coming together.
Yeah,
Was when the spider sense goes off in Happy's apartment, and he doesn't know why. Like Tom Holland's like looking around, he doesn't know why, but like the spider sense is tingling or whatever, right? And then out of reflex, he shoots over and gets Green Goblin's hand stuck to the wall. And then there's the speech. There's the switch, eh? Like,
he plays such a good psychopath. Like,
oh yeah.
even just the facial expressions that he can make are great.
Oh, I love the resurface of the memes too. Like, I'm somewhat of a scientist myself.
Oh god, yeah, That was one of the highlights when I was in there. Just like I had a they actually did it moment when like I saw Andrew and Toby, but that was the biggest they actually did it moment was when they brought that
Right.
line back.
Oh, fantastic. And then like there's one scene in the background when like I think it's when Norman first shows up to Aunt May's apartment and like he's in like the background and he's stealing the donuts or something like that when the two of them were talking. Like that's the Marvel stuff I love. I
Yeah.
love that, and like they pay attention to like the memes and stuff like that. Like, oh, when like people say fan service is bad, I disagree. I've never seen bad fan service in my lifetime.
Well, episode 7, 8, and 9 were just bad attempt like in Star Wars were just bad attempts of using fan
We,
service
those
to
don't
make money.
exist, so
But yeah,
we're cool. Those don't exist.
but yeah, outside of that, it's fun. But I was kind of hoping they would figure out a way to keep Doc Ock, like use him as a future character, because when he kind of turned back to helping Spider-Man, I think he would have been a really good character to like build off of even more.
Yeah, but he has to go home.
Yeah, but like maybe one of his tentacles stays, just like part of Venom stays, and then his brain is attached to it, and I don't know. Like I just I wanted to see more of that character.
I think we wanted more of all of them to stay because like even Jamie Foxx, like he wasn't like the nerdy kind of shy Max from like the Amazing Spider-Man movies. He was Jamie Foxx, like a cool Jamie Foxx, and he was funny. He's like, "Are those your Legos?" Like when he's just sitting in the
Yeah.
apartment. Like that's so funny. And
Yeah.
oh, the only part I don't understand is Sandman. Why does he want to hurt? I guess he's just after the box in the end, but like he just wants to get home to his daughter. He doesn't care if he gets fixed or not. He only wants to go home. So like,
Yeah.
why was he teaming up near the end with like all the antagonists, our Sinister Five
Yeah. I couldn't quite
near
get
the end?
6. I thought they
Yeah,
would bring Vulture back too because they left him at the first movie. Like he says to him that he'll be back or he'll see him around or something like that. And I figured like they're doing a Spider-Man Infinity Wars, so I kind of figured they'd bring him back and actually make it 6. But
it would make sense to bring him back. Like I am almost expected him to. I'm happy they kept Venom on the sideline because I don't think there was enough time to get full Venom in there too.
yeah, I mean I'm blanking on the actor's name, but I liked Vulture in the first one, and like he's a good actor, so I feel like he would have been
Michael Keaton
good to
is it?
build on. Yeah, yeah, Michael
Yeah,
Keaton.
yeah, he would have been great. And like, and, back to what you were originally saying about how like everybody's mind wiped in like the past movies, like almost don't even matter. I mean, what characters aside from like Happy are even around that know Spider-Man and know that he was like part of the whole Endgame fight, right?
Well, Samuel L. Jackson. Um, I don't know why I said his name instead of Nick Fury, probably because it's Samuel L. Jackson, but Nick Fury, like he would know, even though he went off world, just took a vacation. But like he would know the number 2. What's her? What's the character's name? The girl with the dark hair, Canadian actress Colby Smulders or something like that. Whatever her character is, she knew obviously Doctor Strange, and then
Yeah, Strange would really be
Ned
like the
and
main one.
Ned and oh my God, what MJ?
MJ, there you go.
Also, that whole the argument of yeah, everyone forgets so that they can go to university. That lady was going to talk to them anyways, and pretty much
Yeah,
guarantee like it's just
yeah. Like
uh
did you know? I didn't know this till afterwards, but that lady that that he stopped on the bridge, like the head of like the university admissions, like that's the same chick from Civil War, eh? That like her kid died in Sokovia from Avengers 2. Did you know that?
like
Like, remember,
canon
like
wise, or it's just the same actress.
the canon wise, like, well, it must be the same actress, so it's got to be canon wise. Because remember, like in at the beginning of Age of Ultron, like
Yeah, when she
RDJ is
finds him
like doing the presentation.
backstage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's the same lady.
I hated
which is
her
crazy.
because her logic was so dumb. How
Right.
dare you
Save the
have
world and
have
kill
my
my son.
child be an unfortunate like casualty while you save the world? You should have saved him and then let everyone die, including him.
Right.
Like the logic, the whole logic of the Sokovia Accord, it was stretched more than I would have liked. But
Well, it's the same lady making the decisions to let a superhero and his friends into university or not.
I mean, to be fair, well, if that is actually true, that doesn't make sense for her character either. Because the whole point is she resents superheroes, and even if they are helping people
Well, that's why she says no
that cause
originally, right?
problems,
But then she sees that she personally gets saved. I guess.
so she's
I
just
don't know.
selfish, I guess.
That's where it's going. I think.
Yeah. Uh, but I've also
I don't
heard
know.
that Tom Holland has signed on for 3 more Spider-Man movies. So
Is that official or?
I think so,
Hmm.
from what I read. No, like start date or anything like that. I think it'll be a ways out because Tom posted something after the movie came out. He's like, "Yeah, I've spent the last like 5 years or whatever focusing on my career. Now I want to focus on like family and
Family.
myself and stuff for a while."
Ah, so he's joining the Fast and Furious franchise. Nothing stronger than
I'd
family.
I'd, I'd be so upset. No, he'll probably take like a couple years off, I think, and then they'll probably start on the other Spider-Man movies after they try and figure out how to make them make
Bring him
sense.
back in.
Yeah, because it felt like when they wrote the script, they just didn't know if they were still going to have to deal with Sony or like anything like that. So they basically just wrote him out with the chance that he can still exist. So now he just feels like a placeholder, like generic superhero number 1 or something.
My favorite. Yeah, it sucks. They kind of got to start from scratch with him,
Yeah.
canon wise.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, thank you to anybody who's made it this far into episode 1, the first official episode of the
But
Shameless
actually,
Plug
episode 2.
podcast. It's episode 2, just not in the title.
Yeah.
And if
It's
you've
like
made it
Star
this far,
Wars.
we invite you to like and subscribe our video on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify, don't be afraid to give us a follow. And we're also available on Google
Google
Podcasts.
Podcast now. Yeah. As of
Yeah,
yesterday. So you
we
can subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or Google Podcasts as well as YouTube. I don't think they have a like functionality on either of those, but there's a lot of analytic stuff that we can get out of listen if you listen through either one of those, which helps us, and also it helps us in terms of like if we want to get advertising, because they look at those stats more than YouTube, but YouTube also helps for sure. I don't know.
absolutely.
Yeah, well, we're still going for the weekly, like a recurrence, I think is the word. So I think that's still going to be the goal. It seems to be working pretty well.
And if you
But yeah,
have any ideas for future topics on the show, don't be afraid to put them down in the comment section, or you can email us at the shameless plug podcast at gmail.com for any ideas.
yeah.
Until next time, I'm Lick My Sock 117, and that was TMC Coco. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. See you in the next one.